A bona fide gossip columnist, Michael Wolff, masquerading as a research journalist, is releasing a book. You've probably heard about it, Fire and Fury, Inside of the White House. Oh my goodness, it would be laughable if it wasn't for the fact that the left-wing media are also gossip columnists. It's one of their own. And now we get to hear more bad things about President Trump. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to give you an illustration that's going to help you to just blow holes in this already sinking ship. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. All right, friends, I'm having a conversation with Billy Bob off the air. This new book is going to create a sensation. It just is, okay? But I've read a column by this journalist, and he's not a journalist. The column that he wrote is a gossip column, to introduce his book. And where was it printed? The Hollywood Reporter. Now, we all know that if you want good news, hard news, reliable news, you go to the Hollywood Reporter. The Washington Post and the New York Times, I promise you, if he submitted it to them, which he probably did, they turned it down. They said, we're not running this. So, just so you understand, I think on the 9th, there's a new book coming out called Fire and Fury. And somebody at the White House made a colossal blunder to let this fool, this poor misguided soul, sit in the West Wing while the parade of characters walked by. And he had to be a chameleon of some sort. He had to pretend like he was objective at some level. And he was able to have access and was going home at night and, toasting if he's a drinker or smoking weed, whatever he's doing, and laughing with his friends, playing little clips that he was getting, omitting other things, thinking, I can't believe I have access to all these people. But when you read the column, it starts, let me read to you the opening of the column so that you understand that this book is not written by somebody who, even by today's crappy New York Times, Washington Post standards, is considered a journalist. This is not journalism. This is clever writing. This is skit writing for Saturday Night Live. Let me explain. I'll give you one other little thing. I'm an author, okay? I write books. I've written tons of articles. I have a master's degree where I have to write lots and lots of papers. And when you do research, you have the fire beat out of you about exclamation marks, adverbs, adjectives. You just don't get to do it. Just give us the facts. So if I was writing about a fire that happened, I could talk about the fire, how many bedrooms were in the house, and firefighters coming and being brave. Or I could say, the fire truck rolled up and it was clear that the firefighters, some of them had been partying back at the firehouse. And Fireman Smith walked up with 3 days' growth on his beard and beer on his breath. And rumor has it that his wife dresses like a hooker. You could just go off on these bizarre rabbit trails that have nothing to do with the fact that there's a fire. People were inside, people got rescued, people didn't make... In other words, it's not about some of these bizarre things that he's focusing on. If you did focus on that, if you were talking about a fire, about whether or not a fireman plucked his eyebrows, and whether or not his wife dresses inappropriately, or the high heels that she wears, and the Gucci pants that he wears, then you'd say, what are you talking about? What are you even discussing this for? But that's exactly how he begins. He said, the West Wing is configured in such a way that the anteroom is quite a thoroughfare. Everybody passes by. Assistants, young women in the Trump uniform of short skirts, high boots, long and loose hair, as well as in situation comedy proximity, all the new stars of the show. And then he lists them. And he says, the nature of the comedy, it was soon clear, was that here was a group of ambitious men and women who had reached the pinnacle of power, high-ranking White House appointment, with the punchline that Donald Trump was president. Their estimable accomplishment of getting to the West Wing risked at any moment becoming farce. I regret I truly regret the level to which true journalism has sunk. Now, let's go on. People hawkishly defend them, rolling eyes. You can't make this blank up. Her militancy was idiotic. So they're going after Kellyanne Conway. Continued to mount an implacable defense on television until she was pulled off the air. However much the president enjoyed her, found her militancy idiotic. Even Ivanka and Jared regarded Conway's fulsome defenses as cringeworthy. So he has to go after Kellyanne Conway, again, with more adjectives, more adverbs. And this book publishing little article appears in the Hollywood Reporter. It's not that, sorry about that, it's not that this is a hit piece, because it clearly is a hit piece. It's not a good hit piece. It's not good journalism. It's clever writing. It's like a really clever 9th grader or 12th grader would talk, or a clever comedy writer for Saturday Night Live would write. And that's who this man is. He's a writer for the GQ, for goodness sake, okay? This is a man who's used to having discussions about the cheekbones and whether or not someone fits into a Gucci shoe and the hairline. Really? And we're going to trust this guy? We're going to give him credibility? Now, I looked online to try and do a little research on him, and he did write a very helpful book in the 90s for homosexuals and bisexuals to go to safe places. So, I don't know, that might show something about the man. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Continuing with this. Now, I'll only do this a little bit more, okay? But you need to understand something. This art journalist, this poor, misguided, I would venture, godless journalist, okay? He hates Trump. He hates what Trump stands for. And because of some colossally stupid error in the White House, was given extensive access to personnel in the West Wing. If you want to see a pretty good replication of what the West Wing looks like, according to what I've read, look at the series written by Aaron Sorkin called The West Wing. So he's, which is fiction, by the way, but even that was good fiction writing. I mean, good grief. So this man, the reason I'm focusing on it is because there was a day when people like Dan Rather, or go back even further, and I loathe Dan Rather as a journalist. He's not a good man. Okay, he's not an honest man. But even he would read this and go, I don't think so. I don't think so. I'd bet dollars to donuts that this guy, as I said, submitted this to the New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, and they all said no. And so he submitted it to the Hollywood Reporter. Ooh, knowing that in the world of the internet, it would get circulated. It's an assassination piece to make Trump and all the people around him look like buffoons who don't know what they're doing. Which is why, in part, Donald Trump was elected. See, this guy makes the fact that Trump and his immediate circle are not experienced political insiders in Washington. He makes that out to be also laughable, mockable. They don't get it. This guy doesn't get it. This guy doesn't get it. He is part of that pompous, arrogant elite, and he gets his day in the sun, and they're pulling a quote out of, you've heard the thing about Bannon saying it's treasonous, the meeting with the lawyer and Donald Trump Jr. So the media is pulling that one word, treasonous, out of context, because I've read the quote. It's out of context, and now they're making it look like Steve Bannon was saying that something treasonous actually happened. That's not what the quote and the context talk about. I'm sorry. So, where I just got to read one more thing because it's funny. Within the first few weeks, even wrote conversations with senior staff trying to explain the new White House's policies and positions would turn into a body language ballet of eye rolling and shrugs and pantomime of jaws dropping. Leaking became the political manifestation of the don't blame me eye roll. So, again, if I was an editor for this, I'd say you can't use the word eye roll twice back to back in two sentences. This is just one long bit of drivel that's cleverly written that mocks President Trump and everyone close to him as being buffoons, not knowing what's going on, completely inexperienced. And never mind that President Trump honored his commitment concerning the travel ban. Never mind that he's saying, look, you want DACA? You want to have these 800,000 kids who are here illegally? You want them to have some kind of permanent status? I want money to build the wall. So we don't get another 800,000 or another 1.8 million. Never mind that he honored his commitment with the Supreme Court judge. Never mind that he's doing what he said he would do regarding trade with China. Right? In other words, we elected him because he was an outsider and he had principles and policies that we wanted. Everyone has a little problem here and there with President Trump, but I like the way he's doing it better than the way Hillary would have done it. I like the way he's doing it better than any president we've had since Reagan, okay, on policy. So this man is mocking him, trying to make him out to be a fool. But on the policy side, everything President Trump has said he would do, or not everything, but much of what he said that he would do if elected president, he's either doing or trying to do. And the out of control criminal conspiracy, the pooch called the judiciary, they're stopping him, or a do-nothing Congress. Even the people who don't like President Trump in the Republican machinery, they're going to read this and go, oh, come on. If somebody had access to me, they could write something like this about me. And if somebody had access to Michael Wolff, I shudder to think what that would look like. I'll be right back. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Mohammed, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Mohammed. We are going to look at Mohammed's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Mohammed at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Mohammed's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Mohammed and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Contempt is sometimes a good thing. That which is ridiculous deserves to be ridiculed. And if you will look at the people that are frothing with happiness over this book, you're going to find people that hate Donald Trump. They hate his ideology. They love that which is evil. Right-wing watch. They're a bunch of left-wing God haters. Quote me, guys. You do so often anyway. They used to a lot more. Don't be alarmed. Just continue down the path of contempt. Continue with your belligerent defense of President Trump, based not upon his personality, but upon his policies. And the fact that he is the president, when you have a guy who tries to present Donald Trump as a bumbling fool, what's he worth? 5 billion? 10 billion? When real estate moguls were crashing all around, Trump saved his real estate empire and then grew it. Do people really believe that it's just because he's a bully? Or because he's a buffoon? I mean, come on. He's a genius at some level. He just is. So, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Go ahead and continue to be belligerent. Now you would say, well, Randall, I don't know about that. Well, again, yesterday in the last program where I talked about our fight is with the media, talked about Jesus making whips, or making a whip rather, and overthrowing tables. That is the quintessential look at holiness confronting evil in a public setting. Another one would be Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 18, confronting the prophets of Baal. And that's what we're dealing with guys like Mike Wolff and George Stephanopoulos. These are the prophets of Baal. These are the mouthpieces of hell, literally. They are. I mean, every once in a while they'll get it right. And they have, every once in a while, the constraints of their profession will not allow them to say everything that they would like to say. I have constraints on this show. I'm on a Christian network. I am trusted to come into people's homes and to deliver an accurate, and upright, and gracious analysis of the news. I can be a little bit edgy, but there's things I can't say here. The constraints of my job forbid me from saying certain things. This man, Michael Wolff, he does not have the constraints that even the New York Times has. I've already said that. I don't want to go back there. So anyway, continue on, my good man. Continue on, my good woman, with your belligerent defense of Donald Trump and your open contempt for the media. And do it in every way that you can. In every way that you can. In any way that you can. Continue on. President Trump won fair and square. And this is just a little bit more fuel to the fire, written by a court jester, and thus you have it. So, on to other important news. Another government shutdown looming in the horizon. Whatever. How many times have we heard this since President Clinton, when Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House? How many times have we seen this ballet? We'll see. President Trump is saying, look, you want to fund the government, you want DACA, I want the money for the wall. I bet you he wins. He's a good negotiator. Bet you he wins. We'll see. The media, I noticed last night, you know that there's some severe protests going on in Iran? And the secular press is barely covering it. Now, in days gone by, when the Shah was being toppled and before the Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, there was live coverage of these protests. And then it turns out that they were overthrowing one dictator for another one who was really probably far worse. Ayatollah Khomeini was probably far worse. Why aren't they covering this? Why aren't they talking about how bad the Iranian government is? Because after kissing Obama's ring for 8 years and telling about the wonderful things he did in negotiating Iran's nuclear program out of existence for nuclear weaponry and giving $400 billion, much of it in cash, what are they going to do now? They'd have to rewrite their own pathetic history, the false history. Now they'd have to really show how bad things are in Iran, and which would, by extension, vindicate President Trump's hard stance against Iran. So you've got people in the media who hate Trump so much that they're even willing to turn a blind eye while people suffer in Iran or Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or Afghanistan, or at any place at the hands of mullahs and ayatollahs and imams and people who believe in Sharia law. They're willing to look the other way because they hate Trump so much. It's sick. It's demonic sick. I've got to take a quick break. There's one more thing I want to talk to you about when we come back regarding North Korea and Iran. Please don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Mohammed and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, "What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Mohammed and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. Americans have a short tolerance for war. 15 years ago, plus, when we went to war against Iraq and Afghanistan, my position publicly was we went to war with the wrong I nation, a nation that begins with I. Iraq wasn't the threat. Iran was the threat. But once we used that one bullet, once we used the silver bullet on the Iraq nation, there was no tolerance, there was no stomach to opening a front in Iran. It would have been untenable. So we got this lunatic over there in North Korea, who, as you know, over the last few days said, "I've got a button on my desk for the launch of a nuclear weapon in America." And Donald Trump said, "I've got a bigger button and mine works," which I thought was really funny. If we get into a war with North Korea, there will not be a stomach for war with Iran. If Israel attacks the Iranian nuclear sites, which they have a right to do, maybe a duty to do, if Israel does attack those sites, America is going to be involved at some level. We're either going to be involved with advisors, we're going to for sure be involved with military hardware, with air defense systems. So if we do end up in a hot war with North Korea, that was redundant, then you're going to see the United States try and take out the entire regime in a matter of hours. It's not going to take a long time. The far greater threat to the world is Iran. Overall, the far greater threat to the world is Iran. And if we've only got one more silver bullet, or if we've got one silver bullet for this presidency, then I hope that he can keep it in the barrel and use it on Iran. That's what we should have done 15 years ago. I hope we don't miss another window. I've got to go to our website. Look at all kinds of free stuff there. God bless you.